Dr. Vimal Patel as a pharmacist, board certified clinical nutritionist, certified addictionologist, and homeopath. It was difficult for Vimal to see people with side effects weaken minds and bodies. His search for better solutions led him to study around the world for methods that could solve the actual problem instead of masking the symptoms. With over 30 years of experience and having helped thousands of people, Vimal speaks actively on long-term health, the optimal life, and being in control of your future. So please welcome Dr. Vimal.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As he was saying, I have been practicing for over 30 years as a pharmacist, a board-certified clinical nutritionist, and I'm also dealing with addiction. So I'm board-certified for addiction, and I also have a diploma in homeopathy. I'm really excited to be here because it's not often that I get to come to a place where I'm able to focus in on something that's near and dear to me in terms of, as a pharmacist, is seeing so many people with side effects and having issues with side effects. The thing is, we don't realize it, but as a nation, we are one of the most heavily drugged nation in the world out there, right? Here's something that just a little fact that I want to kind of put out there for you, and then I'm going to jump into the presentation. We discharge people from a hospital with 5 or more medications. When you discharge someone with 5 or more medications, there's an organization known as World Health Organization. Has anyone heard of that? Okay. So the WHO, World Health Organization, over 15 years ago said that if you are on more than 5 medicines, then you're walking out with drug interactions right off the bat. So think about that, okay? So, as I said, I'm a pharmacist, I'm board certified for clinical nutrition, I'm also a homeopath and an addictionologist. And at the age of 15, I found myself in a hospital bed in England. I was basically losing blood every time I went to the bathroom. I felt nausea. I couldn't digest my food. I was, again, 15 years old, away from my family. I was born in Africa, and my family had decided to send me to boarding school in England. And so I was, think about that, 8,000 miles away from your family, by yourself, in a university teaching hospital in Cambridge, losing blood. Don't know why. Anytime I tried to drink a little bit of water or eat something, it would basically gnaw at my stomach. I would have all sorts of pains and cramps in my gut. And I was deathly afraid to go to the restroom, because if I did, all that would happen is I would pass blood. And so I was basically skin and bones. But here's the thing, I'm in a university teaching hospital, right? Supposedly with the best experts in town that are able to help figure all this stuff out. They had me there for a month, and they didn't know what to do with me. I was getting poked and prodded all day and night. How many of you have experienced that when you go into a hospital? So you can't sleep, you're frightened, can't talk to anyone. Now this is back in the early 80s. Back then we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers, right? My parents are in Africa. Every now and then they would be able to call me on the phone, but they had to schedule a time to call. You remember that? When you call the operator and you had to schedule a time to call overseas? So my dad, luckily, is a doctor. And so he talked to the doctors over there and said, can you please tell me what's going on? Give me the symptoms, let me know what's going on. And so he said, it sounds a lot like my son caught a disease when he was here at home. So he's got a tropical disease that I'd like you to check for. And it's something called, it's a fancy name, Schistosomiasis mansoni. Over 250,000 people a year die from that. It's an infection that occurs when you're swimming in contaminated waters of a worm that burrows into your skin and goes up into your intestines and basically starts to reproduce there, and then fills your liver up with all sorts of worms. And then when they have eggs, those eggs actually burrow in and create holes in your gut, in your blood vessels, in your liver. So that's what was happening to me. They couldn't find it. The way that you look for that is do a stool sample and you look for the worm, or you look, and these worms grow really long, and they have these little eggs with hooks in them. Can you imagine? So the pain that I was going through with all of that, just not wanting to eat anything. So I was basically skin and bones. I'm 15 years old, and I'm trying to get these doctors to at least tell me something, instead of just treating me like, a case, an interesting case. And because it's a teaching hospital, what happens is all the students come. So the nursing students come, the doctors, the physician students come, and everyone's coming, and everyone wants to know you because there's something unique about you, but they don't want to know me. They don't want to know you as the human being. They want to know the case. So even back then, you get lost. Even back then, you become invisible to the healthcare system. You just become an interesting case or an interesting disease that they're trying to figure out. So it really impacted me back then, and that's why I want to impress upon you that I get where people are coming from. I get it because I was there. I get it because I almost died. Now, what was lucky for me was that my dad said, look, I don't care what's happening there. You're going to release my son, and you're going to send him back home to Africa. They had to wheelchair me onto the plane, and 10 hours later, I got back home. My dad, thankfully, because he's in the medical field and he's high up there, he's like the equivalent of the Surgeon General for the country called Zambia in Africa. He had an ambulance waiting at the tarmac as the airplane landed. And they literally took me, I couldn't even walk. They had to take me in a wheelchair and then in a stretcher into the ambulance, off to the hospital. Within 2 hours, they were able to find out exactly what the condition was in terms of the tropical disease and the infection. And guess what? The solution, one pill. One pill. You wait 24 hours, you do another stool sample, and you see if you've killed the bugger, right? If you've killed that worm, and if you're releasing a lot of the eggs. So then they test again a week later. And a week later, they found that it was all gone. I started feeling better within 2 days. I actually was able to look at my mom and say, I'm hungry, Mom. Like, I had not been hungry for a month. So it took over a month for me to recuperate slowly. But you know what the difference was? It was family. It was someone who saw me, who didn't see the disease, who was paying attention and loving me. So I want you to know that as well, that when you are out there, you're not alone. That you do have people that care for you, and that if we only connect as human beings, we can make our health and wellness so much better, and our recoveries so much better. So I asked my dad at that point, I said, Dad, how come they didn't see this? Why are they not, they're supposed to be one of the best hospitals in the world because it's a teaching university. People from all over the world go there to learn. How come they weren't able to see this? And he said to me, they don't know what to look for. They don't know what to look for. It's there, but if you don't know what you're looking at, are you going to see it? And that really impressed upon me. I said, well, why didn't they know what to look for? Well, they haven't been taught that. And then I said, well, that doesn't make sense. They're a teaching hospital. Why weren't they taught that? And what he said next to me after thinking for a little while is that it's not in the realm of what they're taught. It's not within the box of things that they're taught. And that really stayed with me, because when I went back to school, I promised myself that I was not going to stay in the box, that I was always going to ask why. That you want to look at answers outside the box and make connections from outside the box into what you're learning, into what life is. So I really became focused in, and I'm a bit of a nerd and a geek when it comes to science. I absolutely love that. I actually read a lot of stuff, so I won't get into a lot of chemistry and all those kinds of things today. I want to try and keep it simple for you, okay? But it's really important to realize that the solutions for your health, no matter what label they put on you, whether it's diabetes, cholesterol, hypertension, heart problems, health problems in terms of Alzheimer's or dementia or Parkinson's or any of those types of things, don't think about yourself as the label, right? Because the label only defines the things that are happening to you, right? It doesn't define who you are. It doesn't define your body. So always look for solutions outside of that. So if you have a pain, for example, it's not taking a pain medication, it's understanding why the pain is there. What is the body telling you from a message that helps you to understand and go beyond? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So with that said, I want to say this to you all. I want to thank you, and I want to really appreciate, and I'm very excited about the fact that you're allowing me the time to spend with you. Because time is precious. That's the one thing that none of us are going to get back. So I really appreciate you taking the time to listen and learn from this. And after I'm done with my presentation, we're going to have questions and answer time. And at that time, let's kind of dig a little deeper, okay? So please think about it this way. Keep your mind open, and remember that the solutions are sometimes outside of the box of what you think you should be doing or what you think you know. All right, so with that in mind, what we're going to be talking about today is the brown bag prescription audit. So what does that mean? What I really want to be able to help you understand is that the medications that you're taking, whether they're medications, whether they're vitamins, whether they're supplements, right? How do they work together? Do they work together? Are there side effects? Are there interactions? So the answer to that is that yes, there are side effects associated with medications. And I'm calling them meds or drugs. Okay, I want to keep it kind of simple. So what you need to recognize is that why do meds have side effects? Well, 80% of the medications that you're taking, of the side effects of the medicine that you're taking, is related to the fact that it's actually robbing you of nutrition. It's depleting you of nutrition. Okay, 80% of the side effects that you experience with medications is because those drugs are making you lose nutrients. Nutrients like vitamins, minerals, amino acids, right? Everyone's heard of those things, but sometimes we're like, well, what does all that really mean? What it really means is that that's the building blocks, that's the soup, that's the special potion, cocktail mixture that your body uses to make itself work. Imagine a car that has the wrong kind of oil in it. Is it going to work as well? What if it has the wrong kind of fuel? What if it's supposed to be gas, instead you put in diesel? Is that going to work? Not as well. So that's what happens when you take medications. You're taking something in that is synthetic, right? It's supposed to look like something. Your body doesn't know any different because it has been designed to know specifically the building blocks, which are nutrition. That's why we eat. We don't eat to fill our stomach. We eat because the body says, hey, I'm hungry for nutrients. I'm hungry for the building blocks that I need to make my body work. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's the biggest thing that I really want to impress upon you, is that when you take medications, they are not necessarily identical to what the molecules that your body knows what to do with. And because they're not necessarily identical, the way that they work in your system is they can throw other things off. And when they throw other things off, that causes you to lose nutrients. And when you lose nutrients, it causes your chemistry to get out of balance, and you end up getting different types of side effects. Over 50% of all the medications that we currently use in our nation, okay, over 50% of all the medications that we currently use in our nation robs us of nutrition. Think about that, okay? Now I'm going to go over some categories and help you to see that. So I'm just going to leave this slide up here for a while. Have a look at that. Can everyone read that? Yes? Okay, excellent. So I did a good job of making sure it's the right size. Read that and have a look and see how many of those things you're on, okay? Because I want you to understand that all these medications that I've put up there, these have been researched, despite the fact that we don't spend a lot of money researching this type of thing, right? But it's hidden in the information that's out there. So that's one of my expertise is as a pharmacist, I'm able to look at all the drugs, I'm able to look at all the different categories, and I'm able to decipher and decode how that works in your body, whether it's causing you to lose nutrition or not. And all these categories are currently categories that we actually have citation and research showing that these medications cause you to lose nutrients. They cause side effects. It's because of the nutrition that's being lost in your body. So think about this. If you know that you're taking one of these meds, you know that you're having loss of nutrition, yes? Because if you're taking it, it's working in your body, and the chemistry is definitely going to do that. And one of the side effects is you're going to lose all the minerals and nutrients and vitamins and so on. What if we put those back in? What if we identify the nutrients, right? Because we know that based on the studies. What if we do tests that identifies those things and find out how empty the bucket is and fill that bucket back up? Now, what are you going to fill it up with? The right kind of nutrition, the kind that your body recognizes. Okay? Does that make sense? So what I'm going to do is focus in on 3 categories, because otherwise we could be here for a whole week. I don't think you want to spend that much time with me. So I'm going to focus in on 3 categories, and I'm going to keep it very simple, okay? Because I want you to basically get the overview that, look, if you are taking medications, if you're taking supplements, if you're taking herbs and things of that type, whether they're natural or whether they're synthetic, you want to understand how the body recognizes them, and you want to understand that the body needs to be able to use them as if it's natural, right? So that's the message that you want to keep in mind as we go through everything. Okay, so the 3 categories that we're going to talk about today is going to be blood pressure medicine, cholesterol medicine, and arthritis/pain. Just so that I have an idea, can you give me a hands up in terms of how many of you have those types of things? Okay, so over 80-90% of the folks here. By the way, off of this list, how many of you are taking medications from this list? All of you. right? Okay, so that's 100% of you. So think about this. All of the audience, 100% of the audience, right now has nutritional deficiencies. You're getting robbed of nutrients that you need to be putting back into your body. If you are not taking some clinical grade, listen to the words, clinical grade, high quality nutrients that your body recognizes, then we need to talk. Because you're creating side effects, and those side effects then lead to you having to take more medicine. Because all that we're primarily doing in the healthcare system right now is chasing symptoms. And I'm not here to help you chase symptoms. My dedication, because of the things that I've gone through and witnessed as a pharmacist, and the number of people that have come through my office with all sorts of health issues, when all they really needed was to balance their buckets out and put the right nutrients back in, and we were able to reduce their medications and get them off of it and have them live a better quality, healthier life. How many of you want to live a higher quality, better quality, healthier life? How many of you know that right now you could be living a better, healthier life? Okay? And that's my dedication to this. So that's just it. I'm sorry, I'm passionate about it, and you're just going to have to deal with it, okay? All right. So let's talk about it. I'm going to keep it simple. So blood pressure, medications, and the side effects. People get tired, fatigued. They can't get up. I don't know what it is. Well, maybe it's my age. No, it's not your age. It's not how old you are. Do you know that if your body was getting all the building blocks that it needed, that all the way down to your DNA, okay, that the DNA is designed to respond so that you can live, get this, this is scientifically documented, and a healthy, high quality life to the age of an average of 120. 120. And that's an average age. That means some people won't make it, right? Some people will go way beyond that. There are people in the world, there are places in the world where people are living regularly past 100 because of the way they live, because of the environment they live in, because of the kind of things that they are exposed to, and because of the nutrients that they put into their body. Can you see that for yourself? Mm-hmm. Imagine if we were to put that right soup, if you were to put your body into the right mix of soup, of nutrients, environment, family, right? Because this plays a big role, right? Community, connection. Imagine if all of those things were at the right level for you, and now your body is able to live to 120 with quality of life. That's what I want you to understand. Where you are right now is not the end place. This is just a place that you happen to be because things have not been decoded. You haven't been helped and guided to where you can be. So don't give up on yourselves and say, well, it's just age, I just got to deal with it. Okay, that's rubbish. Okay? So don't do that to yourselves. All the things that you see here, memory loss, confusion, insomnia, how many of these things do we end up giving you medication for? Right? Doctor, I can't sleep. Well, here's a sleeping pill. Right? Then how many of you are waking up at 4 because you can't sleep? How many of you are waking up naturally because you want to wake up? How many are waking up and feeling, I am ready to take on the day today. I am feeling energized. My battery is fully charged. I'm ready to go. Right? If that's not happening, then sleep is not working for you. And the reason sleep is not working for you is because we've got all these other side effects going on in the back end, and your buckets are empty. Does that make sense? Okay. Bone loss. I can't tell you how many times I've had people come to me telling me, oh, my doctor's telling me I've got osteopenia or osteoporosis, and they're telling me to take calcium, right? But they're not looking at why you have bone loss. They're not looking to say, hey, let's look at the medications you're on. Let's look at all the drugs that you're taking. You know how useful this would be if doctors understood this? If it wasn't hidden in the literature? Right? This is why I go around taking a lot of time educating doctors and pharmacists and other healthcare practitioners, as well as coming out to the public like this and talking to everyone to say, look, understand that you don't have to live with side effects. You may have some side effects, but if we can take care of 80% of that, how does it feel for you? How does that look? Are you up for it? Okay. So this is all the different types of things that happen. A lot of times as we get older, we say, oh, well, you know, it's just my age. I don't have my libido with me. You know, my sex drive is less. It must be my hormones that are off. Well, the hormones get off. Your sex drive gets less because of side effects, because of the medications as well. Now, I can say that here because I know that 100% of everyone here is taking medications. So I know all of you are suffering unnecessarily with side effects and the negative effects of how that affects your life. So you are unnecessarily going through things that you just shouldn't be happening to you. Now, here are the things that are lost when you take blood pressure medications. This is just some of the things. I didn't highlight a lot of things, but a lot of your minerals and electrolytes are lost. Now, everyone's heard about calcium, right? Because we all talk about bone. But you know what's more important? Magnesium. Okay? It helps you. It helps. There are over 300 different chemical reactions in your body that requires magnesium. Everything from your head down to your toes. All your muscles, how you feel, whether you're anxious, whether you're able to relax, whether you're able to have this brain relax and calm down. You know, they keep telling us that as we get older, we get ornery, and we get crabby. In fact, there's a movie out there called Crabby Old Men, or Grumpy Old Men. Grumpy Old Men. It's a great movie, by the way. I loved it. I laughed my head off all the way through. But the reason we get crabby and grumpy is because we're losing things and our buckets are getting empty. I don't want to get up in the morning and be crabby. But if my buckets are empty, I don't know any different. Right? Melatonin. Anyone heard about that? Yeah. Right? Helps with sleep. It's a hormone. But more importantly, melatonin is produced when you sleep to help you to repair, to recharge, and to rebalance. Is any of that happening while you're sleeping if you don't have the melatonin because of the blood pressure medicine that you're taking? No. So no wonder you're waking up tired. Because you're not able to recharge. Because you don't have the stuff that you need because you're empty, your buckets are empty. Okay? Cholesterol medicine. Here are all the side effects that are associated with cholesterol medicine. You know, I gotta say something about cholesterol. How many of you think cholesterol is a bad thing? Put your hands up. Okay, about 20% of you, that's good. So how many of you think cholesterol is a good thing? Okay, about another 20%. So maybe about 60% are not sure whether cholesterol is good or bad. Okay, here's the reality. Every one of us, every human being, every living animal needs cholesterol. Period. Cholesterol is a healthy fat. Did you hear what I said? It's a healthy fat that your body uses to make all the cells and all the organs in your body. It is the basis, it is the building block of your hormones. How many of you have an imbalance in hormones? Or you think that, as we age, our hormones get less, right? But it's not that they get less. It's that the building blocks are not balanced out. So all your hormones are because of cholesterol. Your ability to repair and heal is because of cholesterol. Your ability to repair and heal is because of cholesterol. Your ability to reduce inflammation requires cholesterol. Hold on, inflammation? I've heard that word somewhere. Isn't that something to do with pain? Isn't that something to do with all the diseases and heart problems and health issues that we now know are happening, all the way to cancer? Yes. Oh, wait. So if I can lower my inflammation and improve my health across the board, and cholesterol is a major component of that, why am I trying to lower my cholesterol? Does that make sense? So I want you to understand, cholesterol is not your enemy. The problem we have is what we do to the cholesterol. Let me say it again. The problem is what we do to the cholesterol. If you take some food and you're cooking it, and you go, I want to barbecue today, but I'm going to barbecue with a blowtorch. And you blowtorch that food, and it turns into a nice crisp brick of charcoal. And then you eat that. Was the problem the food? Or was the problem the way you cooked it? It wasn't the food, was it? It was what you did to the food. So I want you to understand that. Cholesterol is not a problem. It's what we do to the cholesterol because of the way we live, the environment that we live in that's full of toxins, the free radical, people have heard about antioxidants and oxidation and free radicals. Have you all heard about that? Okay. So there's a lot of exposure to things where what that does is it damages the cholesterol. So here's what I'm going to say to you, okay, for all of you guys that get your cholesterol checked, okay, write this down. Next time you go see your doctor, ask them for oxidized cholesterol. Oxidized LDL. Does anyone need me to repeat that again? Oxidized LDL. Okay? Oxidized cholesterol. There's now enough research that if you're getting labs done for cholesterol, there is no excuse for you, for your doctor not to order special cholesterol labs that breaks down beyond total cholesterol, LDL, and HDL. What we call is a cholesterol heart panel. A cholesterol heart panel. Okay? If you do that, you're going to see that you're going to get much better understanding of what's happening. So here's the reality of it. Okay? The reality is this, is that there's enough research out there to say this. So I'm going to make this statement to you. We are chasing the wrong thing when it comes to heart disease. Cholesterol is not the problem. Cholesterol does not equate to heart disease. Cholesterol does not equate to heart attacks and strokes and so on. Cholesterol is actually trying to repair your heart and the damage that is happening in your body and in your blood vessels. Okay? We need to go to the underlying issues of why the cholesterol is damaged. Does that make sense? If you come to my house and I'm cooking with that blowtorch, and I'm like, I just don't know what's happening here. I mean, I've got you here for dinner, I'm trying to cook, but every time I cook, my food just turns out lousy. I just don't know what I'm doing. Isn't it obvious that it's the way that I'm cooking the food? Isn't it obvious that the damage that's happening in cholesterol is because of something else, not the cholesterol? So here's another thing. If your total cholesterol is less than 150, if your total cholesterol is less than 150, you are increasing your risk for all sorts of neurological conditions. Okay? Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, memory loss. All these things happen when you don't have enough cholesterol in your body. So you want to take care of your brain? Please make sure that you have good, healthy cholesterol. It's not about LDL and HDL and all that kind of stuff. It's about whether you're damaging the cholesterol. What damages the cholesterol? The kind of food you eat, which tends to be high sugar, carbs, so breads, potato, pasta, rice, noodles, processed food. Now I know all of you here, when we were young, we ate real food. Real food that was grown in a garden, picked when it was ripe, cooked at home without chemicals, hormones, and antibiotics. All of you have gone through that phase that this nation has gone through, which was, you remember the term better living through chemistry? You remember that? Remember